in my Discord server the other day, my friend sent me a tier list of characters that he would rework or he thinks needs a rework. And I thought this was interesting enough, and I do a lot of rework discussions on this channel, that I decided to take a look on it on stream, and I really liked what we talked about in the back and forth that we had about this topic. So that's what you're seeing this video for. Again, I'm reacting to what my friend gave me. This is not my tier list. Maybe I'll make one in the future, but for right now, I still do talk a lot about who I think needs a change and talk about kind of what tiers they would go into, so you can glean my thoughts and opinions from this video. So I do hope you enjoy. I do think this ended up being pretty interesting. Okay, who needs a rework in Overwatch 2? Do I agree with this? Mercy? Absolutely. I think Mercy is totally like I think Mercy players will also tell you, like Skietzi and all of them, they will say like Mercy needs a lot of help and most of her abilities do not function like you want them to, or they're just boring, or there's a lot. So I absolutely agree. Mercy definitely needs a rework. I don't think Ryan needs a full rework. I actually do think that he can work. He just needs some way to have more like uptime. The thing is that like Ryan cannot function without a Lucio at the moment, right? He cannot get around the map. He is too slow and he's not threatening enough to make it worthwhile. I would want them to, I think like an easy change they can make is like give him another pin charge or something so that he could go check an angle, which is good. Like Ryan being able to cancel pin and go contest an angle or another part of the fight is really good, but he can't get back, right? Like he can't get back by himself. He's too slow. If they give him another pin so that he can basically pin for mobility rather than pin for the big kill power, I don't care if pin kills. I don't think anyone really does. It's not really that worth it anyways. I would much rather them focus on giving him a little more mobility and being able to pin more often. And then put the big shield or the big, hammer. I think the rest of his kit is fine. Like he has a projectile to deal with things at range, and he gets some good skill shot in there. And, hammer is fun, and obviously the shield. Like I think everything else is fine. He just needs a little more help to get around the map. Maybe some damage. You know what? I didn't want to say it because Mauga is a fucking bitch. But yeah, right. Like why does Mauga get damage reduction on his run, but Reinhardt doesn't get it on pin? Anything like that. I think the power needs to go into pin, into mobility specifically. The rest of it's I think the rest of it's fine. Plus Ryan really likes the armor change is really good for him. Even the regen change is probably pretty good. A lot of Ryan mains say that they want him to be able to walk faster while he's holding shield. That would also be really good too. Any of this. Sim. Dude, I just like... This character has been reworked so many times that I think we just hit the button. Isn't Mauga Stomp also fully CC? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It is. Sim. Sim has been reworked so many times that I don't know. I wanted to get rid of this character. In actuality, I think Teleporter, in theory, is really cool, but I think it's on the wrong character. Like, the problem with Sim is that her identity is, like, in the turrets. Like, that is, like, the one thing that has been constant with Sim, is that her identity is in the turrets, and that's the most of her gameplay. I think her beam is fine. Beam is fine and good. That's whatever, right? TP is fun, but again, it just doesn't feel like it should work with Sim. It doesn't work really well with her kit. I hate TP bombing. I hate how she has this charge projectile that travels 1,000,000 miles an hour and does so much damage. Like, why can this character spam so effectively? Sure, have a little bit of spam. I think that's fine. But I think you're right. I honestly have no ideas for Sim because a rework would need to incorporate her turrets in some way. And that is just so hard. Like, turret characters are so hard. to work with. Um, Weaver, yeah, I think any like the changes that I would make to Weaver, at some point he would be playing so drastically differently that it would be like a full rework. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like, I think the fantasy is there of what they wanted from Weaver. Um, Needs full rework, to be honest. Yeah, I think the fantasy is there what they wanted from Weaver. It's just like you make decisions about who you heal and what, like, basically like using resources and kind of sacrificing some of your survivability to help other people. I think that is all there and good, but the way it's implemented is that it's not very effective and it's also very frustrating. Um, and like those are two like the worst combination of things for a character to be like not good, but also like really not fun to fight either. Um, so yeah, I think at the end of the day it would have to be um reworked. I think the I hate to say, I know this is kind of backwards what they wanted, but I do think there needs to be some kind of skill shot with the healing. If it's going to be like a big burst like that, like Ana and Bap have, it needs to have some kind of skill shot. That's like one of the that's like one of many problems with him. But like I I don't know. I've already talked about like I did a Lifeweaver rework discussion. That was my first rework I did, and I just basically gave Petal other forms to do, basically other ways to use Petal, not just for survivability, but like other ways. He needs some kind of agency. He needs playmaking. He needs something that interacts with the enemy team. Like he just saves his team. Like it's really not great. Okay. So those are the ones that I agree. I think I agree mostly. I don't know about Ryan though. I think Ryan you can make it work. Um Need an ability reworked or partial rework. I'm not even gonna talk about Ori. We obviously know Fortify needs something changed. Um yeah, no, definitely. The rest of her kit I think works really well and is not frustrating. Or to an extent, right? I mean like she's still a tank and whatever. But yeah, Fortify needs to be replaced or completely like kind of reworked. Otherwise, I think the rest of her kit works pretty well, and is pretty fun when you're not just standing there and shooting like as an unkillable demon, or he can be fun. Mauga needs an ability reworked or a partial rework. I think this character needs to be gutted. I don't know. I hate his ult. Obviously, I hate what's it called? Shout, whatever it's called. I actually don't know the name of it. Cardiac. I hate cardiac. Overrun feels like it should work better than it does, or like it's just a little clunky, and also just his character is so overloaded. Like his power balance is so shifted. Um, I think the band-aid solution is like replace cardiac and then just fix up some of his things. I always talk about if he had like some incentive to change guns other than to set fire on and then just keep shooting. Like I feel like the one that doesn't have fire should do more damage than the other one, so that you're like incentivized to make choices about like when you're going to shoot the fire one and when you're going to shoot the other one. Because right now it's literally just shoot the left one until they're ignited, then shoot the right one, and if they're close to you, shoot them both. Also, I think he needs to get a bonus headshot multiplier. Javelin is back to Ori. Javelin is frustrating to be hit by, especially when it cancels stuff or is followed by a Surge Rail. But it at least feels satisfying to hit and is more of a skill shot than other CC abilities. Exactly, right? With the tank roll, there are going to be some things that they're like by nature, not everything can feel so good super much all the time, right? Think about a fighting game. When you're getting hit, that fucking sucks. When you get comboed, you just have to sit there and watch, right? But you also like got shit on, right? So yes, it does feel bad to get hit by a spear and get stunned, but it is like a skill shot in theory, and it is part of like Ori's skill expression, and it is fun and satisfying to use, which I think if we start, I mean, that's a good focus. Like I think if we start from a place of design where it's like, what is satisfying to use and to hit, and then we think, okay, we've got this. How do we make it as less as unfrustrating as possible to the other person, right? How do we make it fair? I think is probably a good way to say it. But yeah, Mauga, Kiri. I've always talked about how I want Suzu to only cleanse or infold on direct hit, so that she like has to skill shot it, and she can't just like fully shut down a million different ults and abilities with just one ability that's on a 13-second cooldown. That way she can't do it to herself, and she has to use TP in order to cleanse abilities or to save herself. It takes her uptime on flanks down. It introduces more playmaking. Like it is a big nerf to Kiri, and maybe you need to like change something else. But it also gives her like a lot more risk involved, but it doesn't remove the fact that she can still go do damage, right? It just makes it much harder and it takes away like the get out of jail free aspect of it. So that's what I would do. I do think that Kiri is like a little frustrating, but I'm fine with Kiri how she is. Reaper needs an absolute rework. Like, holy God, this character is so far behind the rest of the cast. Like, I know that in 2016 when he launched, he had an even worse passive, or like a different, like he was even worse back then. But he definitely feels like he has been left behind. Like, since they gave him the Omnivamp, he is left behind. Reaper is the Mercy of DPS. I honestly, in my opinion, if there is one character that is in the most desperate need of a rework other than Mercy, it is Reaper. I'm actually doing, this weekend, I'm doing a Reaper rework idea. But he is so, like, he is so beyond niche, and he cannot flank. He cannot get in. The second he takes a duel, which he surprisingly is bad at taking duels, because all he is shoot and heal himself, and if that doesn't work, then he has to wraith form and leave. Like, God, I'll talk if you watch my rework discussion, which will eventually be on YouTube. Subtle plug. I love Reaper's character design, skins, and hero fantasy. I would love if he also felt better to play. Yeah, basically my idea, without spoiling too much, is to give him some playmaking potential that isn't just like shooting the shotgun, giving him a little more range and taking the damage away, and giving him some real mobility, like real actual mobility that isn't like detrimental to use. That's like the TLDR, very basic. There's a lot more to it, but that's kind of like where I think he needs to fit in. Now, I don't want him to be like Diet Tracer or anything like that, so he needs to have his own flair. But yeah, Widow needs a rework. Absolutely. I think I would put her in the top category. Him and Reaper and Widow, I would put in the top category of just straight up like we need a rework for these guys. I don't even think I need to really talk about Widow. It's just like one shot, uninteractive, hard to deal with on certain maps, really bad on other maps. Can just take over games. Just, I don't know. Yes, Widow is technically hard, but I don't know if just sitting there and only aim skill is what we really want out of character. You know, like, do we really want a character to be only pure aim skill? Obviously, there's positioning and whatnot, but it's really not as effective on Widow. But could use some balancing. I don't know what you mean by this necessarily, but I mean, like, basically, like, you could get them to a good spot with just like some regular balance changes, I think is what you're assuming. I think Genji is good, yeah. Zen, yeah. I think Junkrat's too frustrating. I just skipped Hanzo. I just realized. I'll come back. I think Junkrat's a little too frustrating to just need some balancing. I don't want him to have trap anymore. I don't want him to be able to spam as effectively, although he's not good at it. or not good at it. It's just not good. I want them to lean more into flying rat playstyle than grounded rat. Hanzo, yeah, he just needs some flair back. Like he's just really boring. He doesn't do anything really effective anymore. I think if you let him charge his arrows again, then since he can't one shot, then he'd be way better. He could now play on an angle and be effective at it, not just be like a distraction. I think that's like the easiest change you can make. Zarya is a little simple, but I think she needs a little something else because she's really only good in the right situations and metas, and she is not as versatile as you would think a character who can make themselves invulnerable for a couple seconds multiple times in a fight would be. You know what I mean? I don't know really how you would do that per se, but she definitely needs a little something. Moira needs a rework, I think. Boring character. Very boring. I don't know what you would do, but yeah, I don't know. There's something about this character. It's just when she's meta, it's just not very fun to play with or against. Faye needs to be cooked, dude. They need to shoot that ability. So uninteractive. Ball just needs some counterplay. Ball needs some it's so weird to say. He got more mobility. He got the wrong mobility. He needs burst mobility to save himself. He needs to be able to fake you out and pretend like he's doing something to be able to outplay knockback, right? Apparently now, when knockback against tanks is nothing and 50% knockback reduction, I guess it doesn't matter anymore. But he needs some way to actually play against stuns, other than him, because you're not that mobile. You're not mobile enough or sporadic enough on ball to consistently get CCs out without getting hit by them. It's not like Tracer where she can go in out. It's like ball has to commit harder and go through his arcs more, which makes him easier to hit overall. Compare that with his big body. So I think he needs some kind of burst mobility. I would love to see him the grapple change where he can retract up to the grapple point. I want him to be able to do that while he's slamming, but it's way faster. So that he goes for a slam and you think you're like, oh, I'm gonna whip shot him, but he goes off to the side. And I would put on a cooldown or something, but you know what I mean? He needs some way to kind of juke you out and to outplay you. And again, it's using more resources, but also at that point he may be wasting his slam. It'd still be really skillful. I don't know, just spitballing, but he needs something against knockback and CC. BAP, I agree. A lot of people have been really mad about BAP recently. I know there was one Twitter clip about the guy getting the 5K. BAP is very skillful, and I think just shifting away from that regen burst. I don't like regen burst that much. Shifting away from it would be great, and then I think BAP could be in a much better spot. I don't really know what you would do, but that's what I like BAP, and I think he's fine. Soj, same thing. Soj is very good, very useful. Her kit is very complete, and she's just strong, right? She's just strong. So either get more people up to her level or whatever. Okay, Farah. I don't know tier. There's a lot of people in the I don't know tier. I'll go ahead and X out Venture for now. We're fine. Venture's okay. They just got here. We'll give them a second. Farah. I think Farah's fine. I think she still spams a little more than I would think she wants to. I think if you had rockets be less effective at longer ranges and maybe even more effective at closer ranges, she could become that bomber playstyle that I think they want out of her and eliminate the spam. I think that's probably the best way to do it because I think her rework was pretty good overall, but a little overall. Hog needs a rework. This character blows. The rework that they just gave him does not work, and the hyper displacement from the pull in mixed with the super high damage pressure, like he's either useless or number one, like you literally can't kill him. He does everything, or he just kills people and does his own thing. Hog needs some looking at, and I think like if there's one candidate for a character that needs a complete like an entirely new kit, I think it's Roadhog. Just straight up. Another YouTube video I made in my unfixable series, I gave Roadhog a completely new kit because I just don't think there's much to salvage here. Torb. Okay. I talked about a little bit ago about Overwatch having a puppet character, and maybe you have like a turret that you command. They have like its own set of abilities that you command at whatever time. I think right now Torb is really boring and really just like throw the turret. You have to look at the turret, and then you try to get to him. He just hits a button and he gets more health. Like he's basically like a tank, like a mini Ori, just really bad. You know what I mean? Like really bad at it. I think that you need to fundamentally change how the turret works and what the game plan is with the turret. Then you can put more power into it. You know, because a lot of the power right now in Torb is in his kit, like Torb himself, and he just sucks and is like really boring. And Overload is just not a fun ability. It's not fun to fight against. It's not fun to play with. It's just like a little more like what's it called? Fire rate. So I don't know. I would put Torb up in the probably needs a rework tier. Ana, the only change I would make to Ana is make the Bionade, the aggressive Bionade, just be a damage reduction rather than a full heal block. Because I feel like that's always been... If there's one thing that's frustrating about Ana is that full heal block is like really, really hard. If it was like a 75% damage reduction, then it would be less frustrating for the tank or whoever gets hit by it. But still be effective enough to dissuade people. It could be even more. It could be 90% for all I care. Doomfist, I think Doomfist just needs some power shifted out of punch and into slam. Otherwise, he's good to go. Brig, I think Brig's fine right now. She's good. I like how I know she could use a little more on Shield Bash because it just feels like a wet noodle ability. But I think she's good. I think she's good to go. She's fine. Sombra is frustrating to play against, and I don't know how you fix that with the current way she's doing it, but if she played more like a close off-angle holder rather than an assassin, I think you can make it work with what we have now. Just this like kind of like really pesky mosquito, but you still have like ways to make plays. Yeah, I think just like take away some of the burst, make her a little more like a utility character rather than an assassin. Back, like, I'm not trying to say back to old Sombra, but back to what her game plan used to be, just with her new kit, right? Ramatra, I think Ramatra is also decently fine. I wish he could play a little more at range and not just be a brawl tank only. I mean, he is a brawl tank, right? Like, let's be real. He is a brawl tank. He is not a poke. Like, there aren't poke tanks. There are longer, like, mid-range tanks. He is not that. He can kind of do it, like, a little bit, but basically, I think Omnic Mode just needs a little more and take some of the power out of, what's it called? Nemesis Mode. Iliari. Iliari is a turret. That's what Spilo always said. Whenever I heard him say that Iliari is just a turret herself, I was like, oh my god, this character's design maybe not that good. I think Iliari flies under the radar with her design because, or like how kind of like underwhelming it is because she is an aim hero, right? Because she has skill to her, like just with general trying to hit shots. But like, I don't understand what's the point of like, you either have to be on an angle with a DPS to in order to heal them, or if you give your pylon to a DPS for them to be on an angle, you can't take one yourself because you're too vulnerable. Like, the one burst that you have, it's not enough. Like, you need to have your pylon and your burst. And then at that point, why are you in a DPS on the same angle? Because they can still take that space. It's not like you are super effective at duels. It's not like Lucio and Tracer who can go all around and leave. Iliari can't leave very effectively, and that's also a problem. Which it wouldn't be that much of a problem if she could help other people from a distance, right? She can't help her team from a distance, which is crazy to me. I was thinking, like, what if her sunbeam went way longer but did less healing at longer ranges, so she could still help people from afar and not be just wet noodle character of a healer, you know, like basically just be a glorified second DPS. Like, she could still DPS but still do a little bit of healing, helping other flankers or her core or something like that. I feel like that would be a better solution to make her more well-rounded, but I think she needs some changes. So Cass these are all doesn't need a major rework. Okay, there's an interesting character in here. Cass needs a magnetic grenade. We need to change magnetic grenade. It's frustrating to play against. It doesn't feel good to use. I'm not a fan of magnetic grenade. I don't even know what they would do at this point, but he needs something. He's also a little simple, and he's really good when his numbers are high, which he needs some more leeway to make plays and do things in the fight. Diva good, Lucio good, Soldier's too simple. His biotic field needs to change hard. Like, biotic field needs to change. It is so like the thing about Soldier is that he has to abandon his angles way quicker than every other flanker does because he doesn't have burst mobility. Sprint takes it's longer, right? It's linear in how it is applied. So he needs to leave his angles earlier so he's out of the fight more often. And if he chooses to healing field on an angle, then he's got this super long 15-second cooldown or whatever that just he runs away from, and now he can't use it for so long, and he has to wait again to re-engage. People have always talked about what if Soldier had like a stim pack that made him maybe move a little quicker and also just gave him like an instant heal. I kind of like that. I would like to kind of see what that could work. It would definitely be a much better solution than the healing field. Tracer, Winston, Sigma, all good. Ashe is a little boring. She is an all-rounder to a fault, I think. She loses to snipers. She loses to flankers. She doesn't do that much against other spammier characters either. Like, she does well into Brawl comps, but she's not particularly good against any of the Brawl characters in a nutshell, I don't think. She kind of goes neutral with all of them. I think she just, I don't know, like, you have to use Coach Gun for escape. You can't use it really to make plays. I know it has a knockback, but it's never ever useful in a sense other than to keep her alive. And then you can't shoot yourself up in the air and do like Widow jump shots because she doesn't have the kill threat like Widow does. So I just don't think this character has come together very well. I really don't know what you do to her, but Echo good, Junker Queen good. Bastion, bro? You think Bastion doesn't need a rework or major changes? This character is so one note. It's so bad. I want him to like be able to use the nade on himself. I want more power in the nade, but not in its damage and its like utility. I think that's where Bastion's like new kit is really interesting. But like turret mode is basically like Fortify. in a roundabout way, it's like one of those kind of abilities where it's like, okay, Bastion is turret moded, everyone wait, okay, he's done, all right, let's go. It's the same thing. It's like one of those really bad tank abilities, but it's on a DPS character. Also, he just gets eaten alive. He is too big. He has too much health. He cannot escape anything. It's so bad. I think Bastion needs another round of help. May May is almost okay. I just think. Do you remember when they had her? They gave her like the new passive, like the chill or the shiver or whatever they called it. I liked that just because it gave May more synergy back with her kit. You know, I think May just lost a lot of her identity with the freeze. It's now just a slow, and her moment to moment game plan is a little like more boring. If they gave her something a little more, I feel like she'd be in a good spot. And maybe if Ice Wall wasn't up for as long and you could use it more for like boosting yourself, or if you could use Ice Wall more often but it wasn't as effective, I think that would also make May more fun. But in general, I think she's okay. So yeah, that's everything. I'm not gonna go make my own one, but yeah, I think that's what I would do. And of course, that's it. If you guys have any thoughts or opinions on this topic, please feel free, make a comment under the video. I'd love to hear back from you guys. And while you're at it, do all that other good YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, anything like that. If you want to get on these discussions live and talk to me in person, that's twitch.tv/LaneHemingway. I do a discussion every single time I go live, so there's always something to chat with me about, always a new topic. If not, the rest of my socials are in the description below. And thank you so much for watching. Have a good day.